Salt Path.
Yes, The Salt Path is based on a book by Raina Wynn, and it's a story of this couple who basically have a double blow in their lives. The first one, the most significant one, well, they're both equally sort of devastating. Her husband, Moth, many of her husband of sort of 20 plus years, has been diagnosed with a debilitating and incurable illness that basically is a bit like motor neuron disease, but not. And that's close I could describe it, where you would basically you physically start to get weaker,
Yeah,
and then you sort of it just sort of there's like a long term degenerative disease, and they're advised that he is um, it's slow progressing, but it is there is like an almost inevitability about his decline, physical decline.
yeah,
At the same time, they had invested in a company just purely to invest in it. And it turns out that the paperwork that absolves them of any liability for when the company fails has been lost. And they were basically held accountable for all the financial losses of this company. And they lose their home. Again, their farm, their livelihood, their home for many years. They lose everything. And they have 5 days to vacate their home, and they get this diagnosis and they get this sort of court judgment almost simultaneously, and they have nowhere to go. They call around their friends, no one can sort of put them up. Both of their grown up children are at university, neither of them are in a position to put them up. They've just got nowhere to go. They try
yeah,
to get housed. No, they're not eligible for emergency housing because his illness is degenerative. It's not a quick disease, so
yeah,
they can't say he's only got a year to live. And they just say, why don't we just walk? Why don't we just get our tent and our rucksack and just walk? And then something will happen. And that's what they do. They decide to walk the southwest path of Great Britain, starting at Minehead, going the wrong way around. Normally, you start on the south coast and then you walk you walk west and then up and you go east. They started in Minehead and they decided to go west and then sort of round the sort of the toe of Great Britain, Land's End, and then along that one. And then you see their adventures of how him coping with his illness and his sort of physical problems, and then just going on this physical journey of stripping away all the things they thought they needed, and then focusing on things that matter, their relationship, shedding a lot of the baggage they didn't realize they were holding on to, about the anger of the past, the anger of
yeah,
losing their home, the anger against the sort of the fate, as it were, about his illness. And they just walk. And this, like all these things, it's not just about a physical walk, it's a journey of their emotionally, it's a journey of their sort of development as people and as a couple, and they're sort of reevaluating their lives and finding out what really matters. And the fact that doing this walk helps him physically, Moth. He finds that stopping some of his medication actually and doing this physical exercise, which they said was the worst thing he could do, that he should just rest. He found that his pain is managed better, he's walking better, he's feeling more mentally alert. And so that it has a physical benefit, and they sort of obviously it draws them closer together as a couple because they're relying entirely upon each other. But yeah, it's a based on the real events. Obviously the real Rainer Wynn often appears on the television, and the real Moth. You see a little bit of a picture of him at the very end. He's still alive. It's not a spoiler. He's still alive 10 years later, and still coping with his illness.
yeah.
And you see them doing this sort of this Southwest path. So I found it. I actually really enjoyed it. I have read the book. And it does go through sort of like these highs and lows of the journey. Um, they're enjoying the sort of experience of being on the rugged north coast
Yeah.
of sort of Devon, Somerset, Devon, and then into Cornwall. Yeah, and sort of celebrating the sort of the landscape, as it were. So I really found it engrossing because it just spoke to me. I always like to go west when I have time,
Yeah.
and there's nothing better than walking next to the sea, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, Sharon, I
Mm,
was about to say when we were talking about this, I was like, yeah, this film could have been made for you. But the
mm.
only thing that would have made it more for you would have been somebody like Gillian Anderson and Jason Isaacs sit down at some point and read some poetry. That's about the only thing.
Yeah, what he does, he reads Beowulf at one point.
So yeah.
And a bit of folk music in the background. So yeah, it ticked all the boxes for me. I went with a friend. We both enjoyed it. We both love the West Country, and it was a mature film. Obviously, aimed. They're not they're not they play age appropriate. They play themselves like
Yeah,
well a bit younger. They play a couple in their 40s,
yeah.
and so it's sort of I think both Jason Isaacs and Gillian Anderson are sort of slightly older than that, but
Yeah,
they
I
play
would say
super
50
well.
something at least.
They're both 50 somethings, but they play 40 somethings. But no, yes, for me it ticked all the boxes, and I really enjoyed it. They were sort of note perfect as a couple. Sometimes the accents I was a bit like, what accent is that? But that's a small thing. That's a small thing. But
But
no, I thought it was a great film. I really enjoyed it. My friend really enjoyed it, and it makes you want to just go west and find a rugged coastline somewhere and just sit and
and
look at
attack it.
yeah, just embrace it.
So how many stars for the Salt Path?
Again, I'm going to have to give it a 4 star. I don't think it's going to be a 4 star for everybody. I think if you're expecting a bit more sort of drama, a bit more action, a bit more highs and lows, probably you may not give it a 4, but for me, it was a 4 star film. I
Yeah, I've,
liked it
I've
a lot.
heard people complain that it's like, oh, well, nothing happens. They're just walking. And other people going, that's the point.
The whole point, yes. So if you're expecting all these more dramatic moments, they're sort of like, but the dramatic moments are like a storm, getting wet. That's the
Getting
drama.
wet. The tent. Oh, a tent peg came out. Oh no, we can't sleep
Yeah,
properly now.
the tide's
That's
coming
actually.
in. That's the high. Yeah, that is the high sort of the dramatic tension you get.
Hey, I've been in a tent where a tent peg came on in the middle of a storm, and that is no picnic. That is dramatic. So, so
No, no, they're definitely a 4 from me.
all right, cool. So 4 stars for the Salt Path.